I'm Brie K of TheseAreTheSounds.com, and in this video, I'm going to talk about why I don't sample, as well as the pros and cons of sampling. But first, this is the intro. So I personally don't sample, and the reason for that is pretty simple. Chord progressions and melodies and coming up with them are my favorite part of music production. In my opinion, that part of producing music is what I'm best at. I don't feel like drums or sound design or anything like that are my strengths. I do think that coming up with chord progressions and melodies are more my strength. So that's why I don't sample, because it would kind of defeat the purpose of me using my skill set in the way that I think is best. But I do have a lot of producer friends that sample. I do know a lot of producers that sample. Actually, most of the producers I know do sample, and they make some fire beats. So whether you choose to sample or not is up to you, but I am going to talk about the pros and the cons of sampling. I'm gonna start with the cons because I feel like when you do like a bad news, good news situation, like starting with the bad news and ending with the good news is just like better in my opinion. So I'm gonna start with the cons. Con number one. You have to follow a process and procedure to not have to worry about legal trouble. There could be people that are coming after you, and rightfully so, if you do not properly credit them or pay them. So that is one thing that you have to worry about when you do sample, is making sure that you clear your sample correctly. The second con is similar, and it's that you have to pay other people, and rightfully so. If you're using somebody else's work, you have to pay for it. You know, if it was your work and somebody else was using it, they'd have to pay for it. Because there's a process that you have to follow. There's artists that I know personally who have purchased beats from people, they thought the samples were cleared, or they didn't know that they had to clear the samples, or they knew that they had to clear the samples and they just didn't do it. And they tried to put the project out and their project got pulled. And that's just like so disheartening for an artist. If you don't sample, you really don't have to worry about those things. The third thing is the lack of uniqueness. Not saying that you can't be unique when you sample, because I mean, I hear a lot of fire beats from people that sample that don't sound like other people's. But when you do sample, you do run the risk of somebody else using that same sample and your beat sounding similar. And then there's people outside who are like fans and things who listen to your music who kind of don't understand that process, and a lot of times I've seen them leave comments on, you know, different people's posts and stuff like that, being like, this sounds like this song, because they sampled the same person. You do run that risk when you sample. It's just somebody else using the same sample that you do. But now let's get into the pros of sampling. So the first pro of sampling that I am jealous of a lot of producers for is speed. You can make beats so much faster when you sample, because you don't have to come up with the chord progression, the melody. You can choose like a really fire sample, you can make it your own with effects and cutting it up and all kinds of stuff, and you can make a beat really, really fast, and that totally gives you a leg up on producers like me who take forever just to make one beat. And I am proud of like what I do pour into my beats. I'm super proud of that. But I do wish sometimes that I could be a lot faster, like many of you guys who sample, because you guys can make like 5 to 10 beats a day, and I could never, even if I wanted to, because I'm not coming up with 5 to 10 chord progressions, melodies, all that kind of stuff in a day. It's just like not happening. But with sampling, you can, and that is so awesome, and that is the major pro in my opinion. Pro number 2 is you get fire chord progressions and melodies and you don't have to come up with them. That's amazing. I know certain producers who do like boom bap and stuff like that. They sample a lot of 60s soul. 60s soul is like one of my favorite genres. I know I say that about like every genre, but I love 60s soul. Like cholo music is my stuff. And the reason for that is generally because of the chord progressions and the melodies. Like they're amazing. So when people sample them, you get this like fire chord progression and melody already without having to come up with it. And that's amazing. The third thing is that sampling in 2020, I think, is just so accessible and so inexpensive. So the third pro would be easy access. I think with Splice and with so many people coming out with sample packs, with loops, and all of these different things, like you have so many tools to sample at your fingertips. It almost cancels out my third con, which was the lack of uniqueness. Like you could be completely unique because of just the wide availability of sample packs and, you know, loops and different things available to you for like such a low cost. Like, you don't have to pay an arm and a leg. You don't have to worry about getting sued because a lot of these are royalty free after you buy them. Sampling is just much easier to do today with less hassle. So those are the pros and cons of sampling, and that is why I don't sample. Nothing wrong with sampling. I know a lot of producers that make fire beats with sampling. That's pretty much it for this video. Leave in the comments whether or not you sample. And what are some of your pros and cons of choosing to sample or choosing not to. If you like my shirt, you can get it at thesearethesounds.com. And if you like my beanie, you can also get it at thesearethesounds.com. If you like the beat that's playing in the background, whether you are an artist or a content creator, you can go to thesearethesounds.com and look for different licenses that I have available to you. Sorry I took so long to make a video. If you're part of my mailing list, I did update on why that is. If you're not part of my mailing list, I will leave a link in the description to join below. My mailing list is basically like my diary, so you get to know all my deepest, darkest secrets, and you get like discounts like crazy on merch. So if you like this shirt and you want discounts on it, like join my mailing list because I offer discounts kind of frequently and like exclusively to my mailing list. So I'm gonna put that in the description as well, and if you want to sign up, please do. All right, I think that is everything. Okay, peace out.